What is going on, everybody out there in the internet land of interneting? I got another great video for you today. Another Fora de Série. A very outside the box Fora de Série. The Tesla truck before the Tesla truck, but that's not quite right because it was air cooled. It was in 1972 that Rio native Renault Paulo, only 20 years old at the time, conceived of an awesome Brazilian trike. Something unprecedented, a little half car, half motorcycle vehicle. At this time of Renault's life, he suffered a severe motorcycle accident and his family desperately wanted him to stay off of motorcycles. But you know, the wind in your air, the freedom, the open road, it just, when it calls, when it has you, you just can't let it go, no matter how bad the accident was. So the young man, Renault, he made a compromise. He developed an awesome trike. For his very first trike, he used the 1300 from a little Fusca. Meanwhile, he went to college, finished it up, graduated college, and went to work for the Norma Escapacenta company. And the man in charge was Victor Stern. And he liked the trike so much that he proposed to Renault that they should mass produce this little thing. Eventually, they came up with a two-seater prototype. And this one came with a Fusca 1500 motor, debuting at the 1974 Sao Paulo Auto Show. After much bureaucracy to homologate the vehicle because nobody here in Brazil knew what it was, and they always want to get their taxes. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's expensive. Naming it the Norma Tricycle, it began production in 1975, featuring a long fork, tubular chassis with fairings made of fiberglass, two-seater, and offering a 1600 from the Fusca. 1976, the success was so great for Renault that he took over production. Behind a very typical suburban house, they rented a big factory to get it all done. Psh, nice. That same year, he was able to get another trike to the Sao Paulo Auto Show, but now under his very own brand. Named the Iron Horse of the year 2000, was very popular. A couple pop stars over in France had it, and even the Brazilian King had it on his LP. And this was at a time when Roberto Carlos's LP was pretty much in everybody's home, so many young boys got to see that trike there. 1976 was the height of the craze of using Fusca Brasilia components to make your own little Fora de Série. Sales were hot. The success of the trike and the fact that Renault already had his own factory spurred him on to make his own little Fora de Série. But he wasn't going with what Puma did. He wasn't going with what Bianco did or any of the other guys, Adamo or Ferris. He was going to create his own unique design. And being a Paulo Renault product, its lines broke from the norm. This was going to be a vehicle for work and leisure. Thus, in 1978, the FORMIGÁO, the big ant, made its debut. It makes reference to what ants, little ants that do such hard work. They wanted to invoke the idea that this was a working vehicle. Coming in just over 1,600 pounds, it was pretty lightweight, and its maximum payload was around 1,400 pounds, so it was pretty awesome. It could get something done. But what made this little vehicle stand out from all the other Fora de Séries at the time was its straight, clean lines, not like the Mira, just something completely wedge-shaped. If you look at it, it looks a lot like a Tesla truck. It's like the cosmic universe put this out there. I'm sure they've got nothing to do with each other, but my goodness, coincidences. The universe is a big fractal. For the time, this was a simple but really unusual design. An architect by the name of Roberto Cancales designed the big ant, and it was really a head turner at intersections. It was so different. This wedge shape gave the FORMIGÁO better gas mileage than anything else that was out there at the time. It wasn't a brick, it was a wedge. Another nice touch was the black mask at the front and back that had the I want to say it was the Fiat 147 headlights and taillights. Pretty cool and pretty modern for the time. No moldings, no trims to clutter up this little pickup's lines. The best designs are the most simple, aren't they? And in an era of time when metal treatment was precarious, to say that vehicles would just rust away within the first couple years of ownership, fiberglass was quite innovative. You didn't have decay happening immediately after buying the car. It was a practical advantage. And since it was a pickup, a flat fan would have been ideal, but Volkswagen did not sell those to just anybody. They only had contracts with certain people, mainly Puma and a few others. This forced Renault to create an uneven lid in the back, taking away a little bit of the storage space. If you wanted a completely flat floor, you had the option of buying a flat fan engine from VW factory. However, this taxed on like 5% more to the vehicle, which saying that the vehicle was not cheap. I mean, you look at it, it's cute and everything, but it was twice the price of a Fusca. You could go get 2 Fuscas for your little family back then for the price of this little pickup. I don't know, that's pretty heavy toll, but you gotta remember also, here in Brazil through the 70s, especially through the 70s, it was a hardcore ban on automotive imports. So if you wanted something fun, you wanted a little unique vehicle, Brasileiros were willing to pay a little extra. It's how it was back then, how it is still today. The idea of the Big Ant was to create a vehicle that was sporty and could also get some work done. However, the FORMIGÁO ended up becoming a toy because it handled so well. Yeah. It had very excellent weight distribution, and it wasn't uncommon to see them like slammed and lowered to noddled, stanced. Nice. And there was no cuts needed to be done to the chassis. The wheelbase was exactly the same as the Fusca. Made it very easy to just transfer one of these straight over. And if 58 horsepower doesn't sound like a lot, back then on the little streets, it was something. It was a lot of fun. And even to this day, slow vehicles are fun to drive fast. Fast-ish. At first, they only sold the FORMIGÁO brand new. But as time went by and more orders and more demand came for this little thing, they started selling it as a kit car. How cool. One helicopter company alone ordered like 12 bodies. The factory grew and moved just right down the street to a larger factory, a bigger warehouse. At the beginning of the 80s, Renault decided to partner up with one of his buddies. And at this point, Renault, who wasn't even 30 years old at this point, decided to step away from his manufacturing business and travel to America to attend some courses on electric vehicles. He was ahead of his time. From this point forward, I really don't know much more. I don't know the numbers. I haven't been able to find any of the numbers of how many of these were sold. There was certainly a few hundred of these made, and a few years later, Renault's bro ended up selling the factory and the rights off to a company called Coyote. Underneath the new manufacturer, the FORMIGÁO was renamed the Coyote Country Pickup. Just doesn't have the same ring. There was another manufacturer of the model from Sao Paulo as well. But from what I hear and what I've been told, in the late 80s, they mutilated the mold to try to come up with their own design, just completely destroyed it. And now, 40 years after its launch, 4 decades later, it's coming back up. It's getting attention again. People are like, hey, bro, have you seen the Cybertruck before the Cybertruck? Bro, there is no Cybertruck before the Cybertruck. No, bro, there really is a Cybertruck before the Cybertruck. And it was the Big Ant. Well, sorry you suffered through all that. Thank you for joining me on this another Lost In. If you guys like what we're doing here, please give a thumbs up, subscribe, be a part of this. We really appreciate having you here. But like I always say, I'll see you on the flip side. Até o próximo. Ciao, ciao.